You can run the best campaign. You can even become the nominee. And you can have the election stolen from you.
How can you win with Russian interference, though?
That's a real... You can run the best campaign. You can even become the nominee. And you can have the election stolen from you.
How can you win with Russian interference, though?
That's a real
what I'm
thing.
scared about in 2020.
But rightly.
Because I think he's an illegitimate president that didn't really win. So how do you, fight against that in 2020?
You are absolutely right.
He's an illegitimate president in my mind.
Would you be my vice presidential candidate? Folks, look, I absolutely agree.
Trump didn't actually win the election in 2016. He lost the election, and he was put in office because the Russians interfered.
Trump knows he's an illegitimate president.
The president-elect, although legally elected, is not legitimate.
I don't see this president-elect as a legitimate president.
You said you believe that Russia's interference altered the outcome of the election.
I do. We have a president who, if in fact it is proven, has been assisted by the Russians and may in fact not be a legitimate president.
The one thing that Trump is fearful of when it comes to his being president is that finally we will see how illegitimate his victory actually was.
I have an objection.
I object to the 15 votes from the state of North Carolina. I object because people are horrified.
He's an illegitimate president.
Do you believe Trump is a legitimate president?
What I believe is that there's no question that the outcome of this election was affected by the Russian interference.
There absolutely is a cloud of illegitimacy.
So that legitimacy is in question, yes. So that was a very tainted election. And in that sense, it's illegitimate.
Why do you think the president is going to such great lengths to essentially prove that he beat you?
Because he knows he didn't. He knows he's an illegitimate president.
Stolen emails, stolen drone, stolen election. Welcome to the world of unprecedented Trump.
So do you believe President Trump is an illegitimate president?
Based on what I just said, which I can't retract.
The Russian attempt to have the election, and frankly, the FBI is weighing in on the election, I think makes his election illegitimate.
There was a widespread understanding that this election was not on the level. We still don't know what really happened, Isaac. I mean, there's just a lot that I think will be revealed, history will discover. But you don't win by 3 million votes and have all this other shenanigans stuff going on and not come away with an idea like, whoa, something's not right here.
The outcome of the election was affected by their interference. And now we need to know, to what degree, if any, the Trump campaign was actually in collusion with Russia.
He knows he's an illegitimate president. So of course he's obsessed with me. And I believe that it's a guilty conscience.
We actually won the last presidential election, folks. They stole the last presidential election.
If Al Gore won that election, I think he won it anyway.
Actually, I think I carried Florida.
Bush versus Gore. A court took away a presidency.
If all the votes were counted in Florida, that Al Gore would be president today and George Bush would be back in office.
I come from Florida, where you and others participated in what I call the United States coup d'etat.
There's no doubt in my mind that Al Gore was elected president.
I rise to object to the fraudulent 25 Florida electoral votes.
I must object because of the overwhelming evidence of official misconduct, deliberate fraud, and an attempt to suppress voter turnout.
It is signed by myself on behalf of my diverse constituents and the millions of Americans who have been disenfranchised by Florida's inaccurate vote count. The Supreme Court, not the people of the United States, decided this election.
Speaking to a Democratic group in Chicago Tuesday, he made it clear he thinks Al Gore was the winner.
By the time it was over, our candidate had won the popular vote, and the only way they could win the election was to stop the voting in Florida.
Catherine Harris, Jeb Bush, Jim Baker, and the Supreme Court hadn't tampered with the results, Al Gore would be president.
The Supreme Court elected the president. 2004, yeah. Al Gore won the state of Florida in 2000, although not the presidency.
But the Supreme Court tampered? That's a large charge. The Supreme Court stopped the counting of the votes, and if they'd let the count go on, Al Gore would have got the necessary votes.
The Supreme Court selected George W. Bush
as the president. He was not elected. There is overwhelming evidence that George W. Bush did not win this election.
What I observed as a voter, as a citizen of Illinois 4 years ago, were troubling evidence of the fact that not every vote was being counted.
I don't think that George W. Bush won the election in 2000 against Al Gore, because I think he probably lost Florida and also that nationwide.
If you invite me back on this show in about 8 weeks, I think you're going to learn that Al Gore actually did get all the votes there.
The court has been thwarting formation of the popular will, the most spectacular example being Bush versus Gore, where the majority by a 5-4 vote enjoined the counting of more than 100,000 ballots in Florida and essentially gave America its first court-appointed president.
I think in 2000, everybody thought, well, he did win the election, Al Gore.
After the election, when you stole the election, you came back here and said, get over it. No, we're not going to get over it.
You know it, I know it, they know it. We won that election.
Constantly shifting vote tallies in Ohio and malfunctioning electronic machines, which may not have paper receipts, have led to additional loss of confidence by the public.
The right to vote has been stolen from qualified voters.
In 2004, the democratic process was thwarted.
The 2004 presidential election in Ohio was riddled with unnecessary problems.
Some machines malfunctioned, causing votes to be counted more than once or not at all.
Based upon an inordinate number of allegations suggesting gross voting rights violations and misconduct, I join with my colleagues in objecting to counting the state of Ohio's electoral votes.
As in 2000, the votes of many who wanted to vote were not, in fact, counted.
This last Friday night, I arranged to meet Senator Kerry at a fundraiser to give him a copy of my book. He told me he now thinks the election was stolen.
The wife of John Kerry said she has lingering doubts about the legitimacy of the election. Her theory goes like this. Two brothers, she calls hard right Republicans, own 80% of voting machines in the U.S. Therefore, it would be easy to hack into the mother machines that control the electronic voting.
There were numerous irregularities in Ohio, including large percentages of rejections of provisional balloting, problems with voting machines.
As we look at our election system, I think it's fair to say that there are many legitimate questions about its accuracy, about its integrity.
There are still legitimate concerns over the integrity of our elections.
I agree with tens of millions of Americans who are very worried that when they cast the ballot on an electronic voting machine, that there is no paper trail to record that vote.
The numerous irregularities that occurred with the electronic voting machines in Ohio on November the 2nd of last year point to an unresolved national crisis.
We cannot declare that the election of November 2nd, 2004 was free and clear and transparent and real. There must be independent testing of the voting machines used in Ohio.
I'm not confident that the election in Ohio was fairly decided. We know that there was substantial voter suppression and the machines were not reliable.
The members of Congress who have brought this challenge are speaking up for their aggrieved constituents, many of whom may have been disenfranchised in this process.
Treating today's electoral vote count in Congress as a meaningless ritual would be an insult to our democracy unless we registered our own protest against the obviously flawed voting process that took place in so many of our states.
Voters who wish to cast a vote for president or vice president can't approach the polls with certainty that their vote will be counted.
One of the most significant problems in Ohio and in many other states was the lack of measures to ensure the integrity of electronic voting machines.
In 2004, they caused Democratic voters in Ohio to wait for 8 hours before they could cast their ballot. They turned the Department of Civil Rights and the Justice Department into the voter suppression division with voter ID laws, voter purging, voter caging, voter intimidation. There aren't going to be any more election stealings.
And despite the final tally and the inauguration and the situation we find ourselves in, I do have one very affirmative statement to make. We won.
Without voters.
Welcome to another episode of RBN Live. I'm one of your hosts, I'm CJ. What's up, Nick?
What's poppin', my friends, my family? It's great to be
back on another episode of RBN Live, and I said this yesterday because that's another absolutely damning clip of the Democrats and the Democratic Party. If there's ever a video where I'm just beating my ass, like the old me is beating my ass, I make fun of my old self all the time because I made a lot of mistakes in terms of calculations I made. I had bad takes I used to have before. I like to think that I've grown and developed. That's a very important part of life. Growing, learning, developing, changing your mind. But if you get your ass beat by your old self, there's something wrong. That should not be happening. Me, I will beat my old self ass. Like you can play clips of me saying stupid shit, and then you can do a compilation clip of me saying stuff now, and my old self will look dumb. That's how it should always work. If you got, and that always happens when people play the red-blue partisan game. They always got clips and they always got videos of them contradicting themselves and making them look ass at themselves, right? Because if you play the red-blue game, there's a level of unseriousness that you have to adopt yourself. And everyone else who's not part of the blue MAGA hypnosis sees what you guys said before on previous elections. That's why, as someone who do not like Donald Trump and call him out for his corruption, I see the way you guys go after him and I roll my eyes. Because I remember you guys, they try to make denying an election something that is out of bounds, something worth prosecuting. And once again, what is the question I ask you guys? How does that benefit us? How would that benefit us? All that would benefit the establishment. They're liberals and fake progressives who are confused about RBN's takes over this, right? But how is it in our best interest to make questioning these elections that are 100% fraudulent after witnessing what happened to the Bernie Sanders campaign, seeing how local elections are so rigged and fraudulent? The Convo Cows, once again, my friend Pasta, done great reporting on this stuff. Criticizing elections in a corrupt capitalist government is our patriotic duty. Are you serious, fam? Now, liberals are trying to make it so if you say that this election is not legitimate, you are somehow a traitor to your country. Do you guys see how that does not serve us, but that serves the establishment? Why would we give their completely illegitimate elections that much gravity where you can't question them? Remember, YouTube had to change, and thank God they reversed this, actually. They reversed this recently. But they had a rule where you can't even question the 2000 election for a bid. See, you guys.
Luckily, we missed that. Luckily, we missed that guideline by just simply we just not that interested in talking about that.
We didn't cover that
subject, so it wasn't like we were purposely avoiding it. Even COVID, we wasn't necessarily purposely avoiding it, even though we knew what was going on. It was just we had so many other subjects to talk about. But this, to your point and to a broader point, it's not. For me, it's not about whether Trump is a criminal. Let's get an understanding of the point of view from RBN while we have the takes that we have about Trump and any of the ruling class being prosecuted. What was I just? It's not about him being guilty or innocent. It's about the timing. It's about why now? It's like, do you think this 70-plus-year-old criminal who has been literally committing crimes for decades, all of a sudden, 14 months before the next election where he's the leading candidate, will likely beat Biden because there's no more pandemic? Now, all of a sudden, all of these things come out. So it's not at all guilt or innocence, because if it's about guilt or innocence, then every single person on Capitol Hill will be going to jail.
Yeah, CJ. That's
so it's not about guilt or innocence. Go ahead, Nate. It's not about.
I'm gonna pass it back to you. You're making a great point. And there are lawyers, even one who do not like Donald Trump. And there's a clip we're gonna play later of Alan Dershowitz, of all people, who had an analysis. I've seen quite a few people say there are quite a few people that had this analysis of you guys are going after Trump in a way where you do not have an ironclad argument against him. And it's all about timing, because most prosecutors, they want to frame their case where it's not susceptible to appeal, where you can't appeal it. They are purposely trying to rush this trial, even though they are liable to be appealed, because they don't care if the appeal headline happen. They just want the indictment to happen. They just want this to go to trial. They just want this for the headlines. They want to try to get this to happen as soon as possible. And even people who are anti-Trump, they like legally, they said, we don't know why you would structure it this way, where Trump can easily appeal this, easily appeal that, easily appeal this. It's a very weak case. And another point that explains RBN's position, and because I'm gonna show you guys this unhinged clip from Van Jones, where he's just an open sellout. He loves our institutions. Liberals are the biggest defenders of our institutions now. But as an anti-imperialist, as someone who studied the empire, and I said this on the show before, when you study foreign policy, when you look outside our borders, that explains everything. So when you see people who try to avoid it, I'm weak on foreign policy. I don't cover foreign policy. It's not my thing. You're missing a giant part of what politics is about. If you're not following if you do not follow foreign policy wars, the decision that the executive branch make, the relationship between the military-industrial complex and both parties, and how all these are bipartisan decisions, you maybe how much politics are you actually covering? You may pay attention. You may be engaged in 10% serious politics.
Maybe.
That me being generous. You may be in 10% in serious shit if you don't have a geopolitical analysis of this. That's why we had the position we do. Because imagine if Venezuela was caught, Nicolas Maduro was caught going after his number one chief political rival and his favorite to defeat him in the next election. Fam, when you understand foreign policy, you understand how much these people are being hypocrites. Because there was assassins that also work with Jair Bolsonaro, people who was literally traitors to their country. These people worked and trained with the CIA, and it was part of the opposition who's more than happy to sell out their people to the West in order to destroy the Nicolas Maduro and socialist movement, correct? So they literally planned an assassination on Nicolas Maduro, fam. They tried to kill the president. So the response to that, as any rational country would do, they send the motherfuckers to prison because they tried to kill the president. So you want to know what the United States and what Bernie Sanders said? Because Bernie Sanders followed this line of thought. Nicolas Maduro is a tyrant because he jails his political opposition. You mean the people that try to kill him? So it's bad when Nicolas Maduro jails the people that try to kill him. But Donald Trump has been prosecuted by Democrats. But that rule of law, look how beautiful our system is. Look how stupid this is. And let's pay attention to the whole politics. If you pay attention to only 10%, you only pay attention to domestic shit. I mean, you only doing Ben Shapiro videos and shit. If you only pay attention to domestic politics, this shit go over your head. But when you follow geopolitical politics like I do, you see the hypocrisy that comes from the West and how they apply their rules to other countries compared to how they act. It literally makes your blood boil. But CJ, I know you want to try to go ahead. I'm ranting.
No, I'm just gonna add more my own story to that, to what you're saying, to piggyback on what you're saying. But let's focus in on the rule of law. This is all about the rule of law. What are you talking about? Baby. This is not political. What's up, baby? This is not political persecution. But listen, JB and Nick, you know, for the alleged rape case, do you know they extended the freaking
I heard about that. Yeah.
They extended, what is it called? Statute of limitations. These limitations had already ran out. They extended that. Is that normal rule of law, or is that going after your political prisoner? Another example. Do you know the other case where they got all this evidence, not this one, I think was the one before this. Do you know they breached attorney-client privilege to get that evidence? What are we talking about here? So one, they breached attorney-client privilege. The other one, they actually went in and wrote a specific law just for that particular person to be able to bring charges against Trump. Now we want to act like this is not politically driven. Come on. But JB, what's up, sir?
JB had Maury Kimberly on your show, man.
I was watching a little bit.
I only had a chance to catch about 20 minutes before I had to prepare for the stream, but it was a great show. I'm gonna make sure I finish the rest of it. It's a great show whenever you see JB and Maury Kimberly on the same show. Both very
when he wears the jacket, it was a special day. When JB is in the jacket and collar and jacket in the video, I'm like, oh, it's a special day today. But tell us about it a little. Tell us briefly about it. Then we'll get back in a little bit to the story.
Yeah. So good to see you guys. Good to see everyone here who's watching. I was able to have a conversation with Margaret Kimberly, also affectionately known as Auntie Margaret. We actually talked about all that was going on within West Africa, particularly in Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. And I was getting her thoughts, especially about what was going on and what the possibilities of different things that may be happening, especially with the military occupation, or the military control of the government of Niger, and asking her questions like, what does she think is going to happen within the next year? Will it be put under civilian control? And she was expressing how she would like for it to go back under security control. And she expressed that she is not really in favor of coups, but at the same time, that it is more of what the people want versus what the West wants. And then she also recently wrote an article about going to the festival celebrating the independence of Eritrea. And I asked her questions to juxtapose about how the treatment of Eritrea is and how they could be successful in places like Niger, and how that can actually come about through this coup, and hopefully subsequently pushing in a more a civilian government through the people. So I asked her questions about that. So it was really a great conversation. Then on top of that, I talked about how the non-white vote, particularly the black vote, is really leaving people like Joe Biden because of the actions that he's taken, especially in places like, it reminds me of what he's done in Katrina, what is being done in places like Lahaina and Maui, Hawaii. And so it just goes to show that they really just do not care about anybody that has any type of melanin in their skin. Anybody that is darker than alabaster, you don't matter. And then he gives $24 billion to Ukraine, whereas he's only giving $700 penance, one-time penance, to people who are in Maui, which is laughable, which is an insult. So people are wondering, oh my God, well, how is Biden, how is, his vote with non-white people dwindling? Well, newsflash, dipshit, this is why. So
in a rational society, Biden would be tanked as a politician. Well, he would have been tanked years and decades ago, especially with East Palestine and the Maui, and seeing liberals trying to make excuses for this scumbag. It's unbelievable. And I'm gonna show you guys a story later. I'll pass it to you guys. I'm gonna show you guys a story how the Biden White House is shrugging off all the criticism. Even the Hill is calling them out for this. Jean-Pierre was called out for this in the press conference as well. But I don't know who shared the screen, but I'll pass it to you guys.
Yeah, we'll get to the first story. But JB wanted to say a couple more things. It looks. Am I hearing? Maybe is that with my earpiece? That could have been my earpiece. So we're gonna get to the. Go ahead.
Sorry, but just wanted to juxtapose that with. I shared a tweet regarding Trump's indictment, so I can share that a little bit. But yeah, please go ahead. I don't want to go too far ahead of you.
Yeah. I want to, CJ, if you don't mind, I want to show this Van Jones part first, just because it's super quick.
These are all connected. It doesn't matter what order, so you can play that because this is all pretty much about Trump indictment and different people reacting.
It fit with the story because this is what we referenced earlier. So I want to play it before I get too far out of memory because this is Van Jones, and Max Blumenthal been on fire recently. He said Van Jones, the former, I didn't know this. This is unbelievable. Van Jones, the former director of the revolutionary mouse organization Storm, which organized anti-police brutality actions, described the latest Trump indictment as proof of the beauty of our system. Let's let him say it.
It's incumbent on a bigger slice of America than even just these little sloppy candidates to start talking about the beauty of our institutions. This is a beautiful system that we have. People around the world don't have this.
This is a black man, and this is why CNN, MSNBC, Democrat Party, and liberal culture is disgusting to me. CJ, JB, they disgust me because they make the active decision to bring this motherfucker on and coerce him to sell our communities all like this. A black man telling millions of people, well, hundreds of thousands, you guys know how many people watch CNN, telling people that this system that brutalized and stole our wealth, brutalized our people and stole our wealth, this system is amazing. And he also says that other countries do not have it. Going to my point I made earlier, where if any other country did this to their political rivals, you will have Van Jones and Anderson Cooper calling for regime change. If they did this in Iran, if they did this in Venezuela, if they did this in Russia, can you imagine headlines? But JB, I think I heard you want to chime in. I'll pass it to you if you want to chime in on this part, or anyone want to chime in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's really no surprise. It's really no surprise because if you actually look at a CNN business article, it says Bezos donates $100 million to CNN contributor Van Jones and chef Jose Andres. So really, it's basically almost like, you know what? You've been good to us. You've been a good dog. So here you go. Here's $100 million to you and whatever foundation that you want to contribute to. Most likely you're going to get some of that payment from that $100 million. So there you go. And the thing is that it just shows that, you know, a lot of times they'll use black faces in high places really just to sell us out no matter what.
They're the worst people in political discourse. Like if you look at their politics, they're some of the most unhinged people. All for censorship. They all for funding Nazis in Ukraine. They all for pretty much all the DNC talking points. They are our number one chief political obstacle. But CJ, sorry, you can pull up that
let's add a little meat to the Van Jones part. I do have a snippet of an article to kind of read. I was trying to see if anybody wrote anything about that comment. Nobody specifically wrote about the comment, but they did write about that appearance that he had. It's just not about specifically about the comment. The headline says, Van Jones says Fannie Willis, and I believe that is the prosecutor, threw the library at Trump, not messing around. And it says CNN commentator Van Jones pointed out what he said was an aggressive approach by Fulton County District Attorney Fannie Willis in indicting former president and more than a dozen others in connection with his effort to overturn the state's 2020 election. And now, this is what Van Jones, he plays a role. I'll pass it to you in 1 second, Nick. But Van Jones, Nick, and JB, Van Jones plays a similar role that Al Sharpton plays on MSNBC. He's kind of the Negro to come in and go, the Negro community gives this a high five kind of thing, and then says a couple of comments. And then he's out. But go ahead, Nikki. You were going to chime
in. You know how manufacturing consent outlines how the system and their pressures mold the people in media. For what I mean by that is you're not going to be anti-war in the media sphere because if you want to climb the ladder, you're going to naturally blend in to be more pro-establishment, pro-corporate. So the people who climb to the top will be the people that naturally repeat establishment talking points, or the people who naturally have least character. That's the concept. That's how our system works. They reward people that understand what role you're playing in the system. Now take Jack Smith. And I saw a clip of this prosecutor in Georgia. I'm blanking on. I need to put her name of the lady that going after Trump in Georgia. She's a black woman. And I
think that's her name, Fannie, the girl the woman I was just speaking on. That article, Fannie Willis. Fannie Willis.
Yeah. These people's names are generally irrelevant to me. So, but you guys don't. I listened to her press conference, and she sounded no different than Rachel Maddow. like if you listen to how she was describing Trump, the adjectives she was using, her tone of voice, is exactly a standard Democrat. And I don't know why Democrats think this is ordinary, because ordinary people, independents, Republicans, watch this person who is considered an apolitical figure, a prosecutor, sound just like a rank partisan on these issues. Jack Smith, who now the liberal and Democratic establishment are sexualizing. He's the new like Andrew Cuomo like plaything for liberal wine moms now. The Jack Smith going after Trump. You listen to Jack Smith, sound like fucking Joe Scarborough on these issues. So the reason why these prosecutors are going after Trump, and they are going to rig the system so they can go after Trump, because what happens if they are not successful? CJ, imagine if these people came up and we're like, oh, actually, we found that Trump did nothing wrong. They will get destroyed, fam. If Jack Smith do not give the liberals what they want, but his career will be over, fam. So
they're not having another Bob Mueller. They're not having another Bob Mueller where you come back with nothing, come in with no charges. Oh no, go ahead.
So the overall longer point I'm making here is when Trump supporters, when independents, when they want to say this is a political prosecution, what Democrats and what liberals are missing is that the cultural element of it. These prosecutors have to succeed on getting the Trump prosecution, and they are more than willing to play that role. Remember, they got as far as they did because they wanted to play their role as a liberal prosecutor, and now they got this. Imagine you've been studying law for decades. You've been grinding. You've been watching all these heroes in law rise and fall, and then you got Donald Trump, and it's your job to take him out. You'll go down in history, CJ.
Right.
You can go down in liberal history. From now on, you may be hated by everyone else, but remember, you're insulated. You live in your bubble. You're a king everywhere you go in liberal circles. If you're the one who prosecutes Trump, and you guys think that human element is not affecting these people's decisions, why do you think they're doing all this shady shit so they can get a prosecution, so they can get Democrats to cheer them on? It's not about applying law. It's about getting one for their team and becoming. And if they get this win, if they get this dub, if they prosecute Trump, they are a hero and they are made for life. CJ, imagine the book tour. Anyway, I think I made a long point. I think you guys.
It'd be like Watergate. They would be on, if they in their mind they would be on the level of a Watergate. Yeah, that's what they think.
Netflix series Jack Smith.
Yeah.
Paid for Henry Cavill or something.
They probably thinking Kerry Washington is gonna play Fannie Willis. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They got all type of people in their heads already, and I'm gonna share this, and we're gonna talk about this a little bit. And that's this appearance that Hillary Clinton made. It was so it was like a 15 or 20-minute interview, but this is a clip from it. So this is not the whole interview; it's just a clip from it. But this was the most curious clip to me.
DJ, can we appreciate
of the bunch? Yeah, go ahead.
Before we play it, can we just take a second to appreciate the amazing irony of the two biggest 2016 election conspiracy theorists talking about how Donald Trump is pushing conspiracy theories about elections? If you're going to be smart about this, CJ, and if you're going to put anyone on TV right now, why would you put the two biggest hypocrites on this issue? Rachel Maddow and Hillary Clinton, the two biggest liberal Democrat election deniers. Anyway, let's continue. That's my preface.
Yeah. It's still I don't understand what reaction do they think a Trump indictment is going to be? Because let's take it from the liberal side. This indictment is supposed to do what? Put him in jail? Like, that's how far we're going. Let's say he committed all the crimes they're saying. He's supposed to be going to jail for 10 years. How you think that's gonna sit well? 10 years for some freaking paper crimes?
Yeah, CJ, there was a guest,
like this is so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. Go ahead,
JB. I'll pass right to you, but there was just a guest on MSNBC. I didn't do a breakdown of it because it wasn't worth it. But this guest was 100% confident that was like, yeah, Trump is going to prison. Yeah, he's definitely going to prison. And then the other guys like, oh, how you know? I'll show you. No, it's gonna happen. It need to happen. It's gonna happen. There are some people who are delusional that's gonna happen, But to answer your question, there are people that want that to happen. They want Donald Trump and change. They want that's their fantasy. And these people who are in these positions, they want to be known as the one who did it. But JB, sorry, I went past you. I know you want to chime in.
Yeah, isn't this all just kabuki theater? I mean, from what it looks like to me, is just the process matters more than the result. They're doing this because it's a political tool to keep Trump under investigation during the political process. But I'd be honest with you, I don't even think the liberals really care if he wins or loses that case. Because ultimately, it's not whether about he wins or loses the case. It's about making him look like he may be guilty. Right. But at the same time, ultimately, I said this on my show earlier, I honestly think that Trump is going to win. And ultimately, like, Trump voters don't give a shit whether he's indicted or not. Hell, people who vote Democrat just out of duress because they don't feel like they have any other place to go, they honestly don't give a shit about if Trump gets indicted or not either, because they're just trying to prevent him from getting back in power anyway. So, I mean, honestly, this is really just kind of prodding at, oh my God, isn't this bad? Trump just may be indicted. And really, this is just theater for the consultants and the people who are in Washington, for them to be entertained. It's not really for us.
Baby, to that point, there are delusional Trump supporters on Twitter right now. And there's liberals that go along with it as well, where they're like, this Trump case is going to lead to a civil war. 50% of Americans are independents. Most people don't give a fuck about this shit, like, not passionately, right? So there are these delusional Trump supporters. I mean, they got a lot of followers, 100,000 followers, 2 million followers, etc., etc. But that's a very small amount of the population. Y'all niggas think we going to civil war for y'all ass? Think about be a bunch of suburbanites trying to call for civil war. You really think they're trying to go to war over some two-party bullshit? Anyway, I thought that was funny.
Cares. Nobody. I mean, I certainly don't.
Imagine dying for this shit.
Single damn. But listen. The question. This is another question. So I told you about them changing the law to bring the allegations of rape, and then also going around attorney-client privilege. So add that to why weren't these charges brought a year ago, 2 years ago? These crimes, these supposed crimes, we're talking what, January 2020. What new evidence have you in the last 2 years, last year, the last 6 months that caused you to wait to file these charges this soon? And another thing, if Trump has been doing terrible in the polls, let's say he's been doing terrible in the polls this entire couple of years, I'm not even sure we would see some of these charges, to be honest with you. I'm not sure we would even see these charges. If DeSantis was flipped, he was up 55%, and Trump was at 14%. Well, I'm not talking about like recently, like the whole time. These charges would not even be going on. Go ahead.
I'll take it even further. How much you want to bet once either Trump gets into office, or if Trump loses, but I don't see that happening, then they'll reverse these laws, because guess what? Then other people are going to go, well, if Trump did these things, then what other billionaires or super rich person did stuff like this? Maybe we should go after them. They don't want that to actually happen. So therefore, I would honestly think that they would try to reverse these, just because I think it's just a political tool.
Now,
I would be afraid to go to prison. I would be afraid to go to prison if I was Hillary Clinton, for example, or Obama, if Trump went to prison. Go ahead, Nick.
To back up your point, CJ, for the people who still believe it's not political, George W. Bush Jr. is the biggest damning evidence against the Democratic Party. Because I remember when Barack Obama and Democrats ran on going after George W. Bush and prosecuting him for his crimes. And then after Barack Obama won, he said, oh no, we need to heal. We need to forgive and forget. We need to forgive and forget. We need to heal. And I'm asking you this question. If you got a parking ticket, if you did anything, right, illegal, right? If a worker did anything illegal, will you have your governor say, oh, we got to live and learn? Jamie, live and learn. Right? And you got caught shoplifting, live and learn. No, that's not how it works. But that's how it worked with George W. Bush. Why did they do that? They did that because George W. Bush went home in Texas and started painting. He wasn't a political threat no more, even though he was a rank criminal. So George W. Bush Jr., who wasn't a political threat, Democrats don't go after because they say live and learn, live and let live. But Donald Trump, who is a political obstacle, still in the game, they go after.
Right.
If George W. Bush was like, man, I'm about to run. Yeah, I know it's unconventional, but I'm about to run for Texas Senate. They would charge his ass so quick, man. Imagine he was trying to take a Senate seat.
Yeah.
Like they would went after his ass so fast. That's how you know it's political. But sorry, let's go to the clip. Go ahead, CJ.
Okay. Yeah, let me know when you want to stop. I know both of you are gonna want to stop it in multiple places.
This is gonna be hard to get to, but this is hilarious.
Yeah, she said some ridiculous stuff. Coming out of her mouth in particular makes it more ridiculous. So let's listen.
When we were watching Gwen Keys Fleming and Lawrence speaking just a moment ago about the mandatory minimum prison sentence in Georgia for a RICO conviction, Ms. Keys Fleming noted, maybe we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit, and I saw you chuckle. Clearly, we are getting.
Look at the smile. At the possibility, thinking of the mandatory minimum sentence of Trump. I mean, you are a journalist, and this is what you think is giddy. I don't understand what do you think the other side is going to do? It's bizarre.
We are getting ahead of ourselves, and we are thinking about potential sanctions.
I was about to say, just real quick, and we can continue to play the video. You see Hillary laughing here. This is the same ghoul that chuckled at the death of Gaddafi, the person who led his people to prosperity and wanted independence from the West. That was his crime. Resisting the West and wanting to have a United States of Africa. And Hillary Clinton cackled at the fact that he was brutally tortured. Like what happened to Gaddafi, the way he was murdered, very, very brutal. So I'm not gonna say on air. Very, very graphic. Like it's very depressing. What happened to a man who only wanted better for his people? And Hillary Clinton said, we saw he died, and just chuckled and laughed. Like she's a comic book level villain. Meanwhile, liberals like in the Rachel Maddow sphere wondering why is Hillary Clinton so disliked? She's a cartoon character. That's why. But let's continue.
Okay, let's go.
As a result of any of these trials, let alone, there's these things getting to trial, there's the question of conviction, there's the question of sentencing, but then there is at the end of that road the prospect of the prohibitive favorite for the Republican presidential nomination being in prison.
Oh, if you go back to Hillary Clinton surrounded by all that red, doesn't she look like a Sith Lord? She looks like a Sith Lord with the I have waited a long time.
I swear when
that's a good voice.
I don't know if they see it.
That's what she looks like, bro. She put a hood over her head. She looked like Darth Sidious. Like holy shit.
I don't know if they see it in. I don't know if ruling class see. I don't know if it's something that only we can see, like a working class sense. But I don't know if war criminals know how evil the aura they put off after killing so many people. Like Hillary Clinton is responsible for the deaths of millions. So to me, I just see like this in my mind. I see this red evil aura coming off her. And then when I hear her speak, when I hear her laugh and cackle, this is what a real life villain would look like. And she got a real life villain fucking kill count. Like people be like, man, Joker, Joker killed thousands of people. Joker killed hundreds of thousands of people. Joker for Batman, right? He's a big badass villain. Yeah. Hillary, like, nigga, that's nothing, fam.
Look,
I'm done.
If Rachel Maddow says the wrong thing, I'm afraid that Hillary will force choke her right on the spot.
Being in prison.
Yeah.
Do we as a country have an interest in him not going to prison so that we can still call ourselves a country?
Let me back it up a little bit for context, because that is a very important question. that she's going to answer here. I just want to make sure we get the lead up to that question completely.
The prohibitive favorite for the Republican presidential nomination being in prison.
Yeah.
Do we as a country have an interest in him not going to prison so that we can still call ourselves a country where leading politicians don't get locked up?
Look,
This question tells you they know the ramifications of this. That question tells you they know exactly. So this is them trying to address it, I guess. Go ahead if somebody else wants to.
No, that's a great point. Let it continue for a bit, but that's a great point because that's her saying like, "Oh shit, what if they go after you for your shit, Hillary? What if they go after you? And y'all sure y'all want to do this? You know what the fuck you did?" But anyway, let's continue. That's a great point, CJ.
We can still call ourselves a country where leading politicians don't get locked up.
Look, I think that's going to be a much debated issue throughout the country over the next months, because holding him accountable can happen in a number of ways. Prison obviously is one of them, but there are other approaches that can be taken. I think one of the important comments that came out of this long day down in Georgia was by the former lieutenant governor when he said, this is a pivot point. The Republican Party needs to move away. Quit being part of a cult, in effect, is what he meant, where you follow someone who lies to you, undermines legitimate processes of government. Move away from him politically and, trying to get back to politics in the...
Think about democracy, and then you have ghouls of the ruling class trying to force you or force a political party into a specific direction because they don't like the person that the majority of them like. The majority of them like Donald Trump. And I mean, this is what she's saying. She is saying this is like force the Republicans, you guys need to pivot. This is what you need to do. This is why she's here. We always wonder, why do they keep bringing on Hillary? Why is Bill Gates on there about this? These are the people whose opinion matter. These are the people. That's why they bring them on, and they're not even part of any sort of apparatus of the government. They're there, happen to be saying some of the same things that either come to be true, or they're trying to cover up something here. And
now, to that point, CJ,
to me, it's not a coincidence. To me, it's not a coincidence that this was scheduled with the second highest propaganda person in Rachel Maddow, with this person who has a personal vendetta against Donald Trump because she lost to the game show host. This just doesn't seem like a happenstance to me. But go ahead, Nick.
I just put on the screen right now. I saw this tweet earlier. It reframed my mind for a few minutes because it's so disgusting. This is Rick Wilson, the guy from the Lincoln Project. Yeah. And this is to your point of how this is the ruling class talking to each other. This is their class, their circle. And Hillary was trending today. You had obviously everyone on the left giving it to her, but on the liberal side, she's like a cult leader. And that's why this segment is going to be very interesting, because they're going to try and criticize the Trump cult. Meanwhile, there are plenty of liberals that still got hashtags still with her in their profile, still worship this person. and Rick Wilson said, look, I don't know which booker got Hillary on air tonight, but tip to the glass. This is the reaction to Hillary. And they was freaking out, like, oh my God. And I saw on Twitter, like, oh my God, Richard Maddow on Hillary, Hillary on Richard Maddow. This is like their Super Bowl. This is their big moment. But I'll put the video back up there. CJ, I'll pass to JB and we get back to it after JB.
Let me ask you guys this question, because I saw a couple people in the chat ask this question. Some people in the chat are asking the question, well, shouldn't we just be happy that a war criminal is even getting some type of indictment?
It's not a war crime, though.
Yeah, but here's my thing. They're saying, well, at least is something. Here's my point. How is Trump getting an indictment actually going to help us when, if let's say Trump does get an indictment, how is that going to help us against Biden? Right. Because Biden will just get put back into office. It's either going to be one of the two. The thing is that ultimately it's the system that's in place. Really, this is just a theater that's being shown in order for one side or the other to get the cheer for it. Really, it's just the games. It's the gladiator games. Really,
I mean, he's trying to say like it doesn't matter if he's a war criminal. So what? Who cares? So let's use that same logic. So if you're a person who was raped, the rapist gets off on being. He don't get any rape charges. They go to jail for tax evasion.
Yeah.
That's fine with you?
Yeah, that's
like,
fucking
come
ridiculous.
on, man. Like, this is whoever's saying this comment may have a little bit one foot in the blue team because it feels very much like a blue team rah-rah comment because it'll be like saying, who cares if Donald Trump was censored off of Twitter? Aren't you just mad that a war criminal's off of Twitter? No, I'm not.
Now, and why would you want to set this precedent, fam?
Exactly.
You guys know they're going after Trump for his speech. Whether you believe, and this is the argument that the Trump team is making, and which I think is somewhere legit. Where they said what Trump is doing, whether he is wrong or not, whether the election stolen or not, he is asking election officials whether his inquiry is correct. Can you look into these votes? This is something I am worried about. Can you look into it? This is something that has been historically done. Politicians reach out to local officials when they have inquiries. So the legal argument that honestly a lot of Trump supporters and the right is making is that they will limit speech because imagine if you're a politician, imagine if you're an activist and you questioning the election, and if you want to get information on the election, you ask election officials about that. They are saying that Trump and his people had a criminal conspiracy because a bunch of them challenged the result of the election. That's essentially what they're saying. They say, well, they use these tactics to intimidate people. You mean making their argument? And I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna pull this up real quick because
go ahead. Yeah, we can.
I actually tweeted about this earlier.
Yeah, because
I'm gonna show you one part of the indictment that they put up here. Okay, I can pull up here real quick. And this is why I mock. Here it is. This is why I mock this case. Here, let me pull it up here. Look at this. Is this the amount of power you guys want to give the government? One of the things they're looking to get Donald Trump on. On the third day of December 2020, Donald John Trump caused to be tweeted from Twitter account, Real Donald Trump, Georgia hearings on right now on OAN. That's American News Network, right? Amazing. So Donald Trump tweeted out an OAN stream and said there are Georgia hearings going on right now. What they were saying is Donald Trump tweeting that out was an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy.
What,
fam? You guys see what they were saying? Have you guys read the indictment? It's literally clown shit of the highest order. They're saying Trump tweeted this thing where he said he think he won the election. This is part of the criminal conspiracy. What? So
and it's a RICO charge.
He is telling his followers to watch the stream. CJ, he told his followers to watch the stream, and that is the evidence of a criminal conspiracy according to them. Fam, you guys want to give the government this kind of power where they can do that?
That's preposterous. But let me give an example since we're on this, because I was watching Garland Nixon's coverage of the indictment, and he gave a great example. Because this is what liberals like to say about one of the most important charges. He was calling around telling them to look for votes, to find votes. So this is the example that Garland Nixon, I go to your house, Nick. When I leave, I call you. I say, hey, I left my hat at your house. And then you say, you know what? I haven't seen any hat. And then I go, please find it. Can you look around and find my hat, please? That's because I have a belief that my hat is there. If Trump has a belief, if he believes, let's say he's not at all has any ill intentions. He believes that there are votes missing. That is the exact phrase you would use. You would say, hey, so-and-so, Attorney General, I believe I won Georgia. Can you find those votes down there in Georgia? That's the same thing as me telling you, can you find my hat? Even though you don't know that it's there, and you believe off of eyesight, you've looked around and it's not there, and I'll go, can you look for it? That's happened to me with my keys.
Yeah,
that's happened to me where I'm like,
So,
the
CJ.
person who I left it at, they didn't know, and I'm like, please look for my keys, and they found it. Go ahead.
But here's the thing I just wanted to point out, because a lot of times people are talking about what Donald Trump said regarding his election in his or lack thereof of winning the election in 2020. He's saying, well, you know, he actually didn't lose. Here's the thing. Donald Trump could very well be lying straight through his teeth. But the thing is that a lot of the Democrats also lie through their teeth, but they don't get indicted for the same things.
Exactly.
So my thing is like, if we're going to indict Donald Trump, then also we need to indict everybody else for the lies that they've told to the American people, which should be a crime. And the thing is that it's like lying to the federal government is a crime, but lying to the people is not. The thing is, if Donald Trump did it, then guess what that means? That means every single president since then has also needs to be indicted and put into prison as well. When you go to George W. Bush, Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, and people like Joe Biden, they all lied. Like, for instance, wasn't it Barack Obama that said that he was actually going to codify Roe v. Wade into law, and then he said he wasn't going to do it right afterwards? Guess what? Your presidential promises should also be held to you by law as well, but they're not, because the thing is that a lot of times they will make it so that they don't have to, and they can just do plausible deniability.
Yeah, so I'm pulling this up, and we can get back to the Hillary video, and then I'm gonna show you guys what Alan Dershowitz said, who is Alan Dershowitz is subhuman garbage, right? But he is giving and we were smart enough to realize that he's subhuman garbage, but he's just giving an objective law take. So I hope you guys forgive me for that. But we're gonna get to that after the Hillary clip, because he's pretty much making this argument. He's saying that, guys, if you guys gotta think long term, I hate Trump, man. I don't like Trump. I got Trump derangement syndrome. But if you guys go after Trump for this, everyone's gonna get prosecuted. Do you guys want that? I'm not trying to get prosecuted. You guys know what I did. I know what you did too. We're not trying to get prosecuted, and that's essentially what he was saying. So I won't read this tweet. I'll pass it back to you, CJ. Apparently, it's illegal in America to tell people to watch TV, which Trump did, and that's what the indictment got him for. That was part of the conspiracy when Trump told people to watch OAN. Asking for phone numbers, renting rooms at the Capitol, advocating for signature verification, and tweeting about stuff. And that's, if you watch these segments, if you watch these MSNBC segments closely, that's essentially what they're condemning him for. He believes he won the election. He is making his case. He is making it. If you believe something, whether you're right or wrong, don't you have the right or not to make that case? Do you or do you not have the right to pursue what you believe is to be true, whether you're right or wrong? If you're wrong, you can face the political consequences of being wrong. They were trying to criminalize the act of being wrong and making political maneuvers that will open the Democrats up too, which they are so their brain is so broken with Trump derangement syndrome, or maybe they confident they may hold power and fight Republicans off. They can prevent that from happening, but that's delusional. But CJ, I'll pass to you when we get back to the segment.
But what's the difference in what? And let's say Trump knowingly lying, telling people I won the election. What's the difference in that and Joe Biden saying he's going to fight for $15 minimum wage and he doesn't do it? What's the difference? They're both a lie.
Blow up the Nord Stream pipeline.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So that's the point. So let me bring up the clip again. We can get through a little more of it. I know we're not going to get through all of it. But she does say a lot of good points. She does say a lot of good, not points, like the points are good, but something that we're going to want to talk about. So let's listen.
Was by the former lieutenant governor when he said, this is a pivot point. The Republican Party needs to move away. Quit being part of a cult, in effect, is what he meant, where you follow someone who lies to you, undermines legitimate processes of government. Move away from him politically. And, trying to get back to politics in the sense that we used to think we had it, despite all the human frailties that accompanied it, where, you had parties that would sanction and hold accountable their own members. I was on the impeachment inquiry staff. You cannot make up my life, And so back in 1974, when the impeachment by the House Judiciary Committee was voted on. 4 Republicans voted to impeach President Nixon. Then 3 members of the Senate, leading Republican senators, I think it was Barry Goldwater and Howard Baker and I think Hugh Scott, went to see President Nixon and said, this was a bipartisan vote. You need to resign. Well,
the conflating, and this is what's to me one of the most disgusting sort of things that the ruling class does, where they take genuine historical things and then they try to pretend, you know, like it's some sort of equivalent morally or otherwise. They try. So she's trying to act like the Watergate situation is the same, and that the Republicans back then had some sort of integrity. No, it was overwhelming evidence that the fucker was guilty, motherfucker. That's what it was. That's what it was, of real crimes. This is not that. Hillary Clinton, the person who had shit on her server, the person who was in cahoots with the DNC to steal the shit from Bernie Sanders. Like, this is so underwhelming to me and disgusting to me how many people like this particular person. Like you said, Nick, earlier, talking about I'm still with her. She is one of the most corrupt, one of the most sinister, one of the most like warmongering, just unhinged foreign policy. Like, she is terrible. Yeah. Go ahead.
To be clear, I think you understand this as well. Everyone understands. Hillary is massively unpopular, like one of the most unpopular public figures. That's why it's always hilarious when they talk about Putin and other figures who are way more popular, way more beloved among their civilians than they are. But it's hilarious how and look, literally in the title, Clinton calls on GOP to quit Trump cult. Fam, Hillary is deeply disliked, but the only people who like her are that weird 10% Democrat cult. And I say 10% because we know 20% of the population Democrats, and then only like half of those Democrats are crazy enough to be Hillary Clinton cultists, right? So it's like this 10% cult, liberal, broken brain people who are our natural class enemies. But anyway, let's continue.
But my question is, she just said that about people who like Donald Trump who lie about the levers of power and how they work. I mean, wasn't it Joe Biden who basically said that when the parliamentarian said that no, we can't have a $15 an hour minimum wage, he was like, well, sorry, we can't do the $15 an hour minimum wage, when in reality, one of the levers of power that he has is that he could actually fire the parliamentarian so that we can actually include that in one of the bills, or that that parliamentarian could have been overridden by Vice President Harris in the Senate. So it's like, okay, but you're also lying about the levers of power and within the Democratic Party. The thing is, it's like, okay, so if you're going to apply that, you're going to apply that on both sides. The thing is, the problem is that somebody like Hillary Clinton does not want to apply the cult-like behavior among the Democratic Party just as much as it is among the Republican Party. The thing is that this is, like I said earlier, the chamber pot calling the toilet white. This is exactly what's happening. That she's pointing out the shit that's going on in the Republican Party, but the same shit is happening within the Democratic Party. And so, to be honest with you, I say she's like, oh my God, they need to indict Donald Trump. And I'm like, but boo, where's your indictment? Where's yours? Because the thing is that if you're so game for truth and justice, then you should be willing to also have it applied to yourself. Put your hands together and get ready for those handcuffs, sweetheart. Because the thing is that that's what's going on. It's like, yo, you're doing the exact same. Like, you don't see what's going on. It's like she's basically projecting this entire time. And look, put some big, beautiful, good handcuffs on Donald Trump, but put on some rhinestone handcuffs on her too. That's where they belong.
Rhinestone. All right, let's continue.
that's almost impossible to imagine today because of what's happened to the Republican Party, what they've allowed to happen to themselves. So I hope that we won't have accountability just for Donald Trump, and if there are others named in these indictments along with him for their behavior, but we'll also have accountability for a political party that has just thrown in with all of the lies and the divisiveness and the lack of any conscience about what was being done to the country.
In terms of getting out of this and coming out of this crisis stronger, hopefully, for having confronted, I think, very dark prospects in terms of what this means for democracy, it does feel like the Republican Party as a whole is not ready to make that turn. And I'm thinking really about Ron DeSantis as the guy who's running second to Donald Trump in the Republican primary right now. He is promising that there shouldn't be an independent Department of Justice.
Yeah, well,
under
he's
any
promising
president.
anything to try to get some attention. It's kind of pathetic, isn't it?
He's also removed two
coming
elected
from Hillary
prosecutors in
Clinton.
Florida who were chosen, who were elected.
I was thinking the same thing. Like, you lost against Donald Trump. You have the audacity to say something like that about
she went
a
on
candidate.
a tour where they was essentially begging people to buy tickets. Like, she had a tour that flopped extremely bad, and now you have Hollywood that essentially doing charity to Hillary Clinton by giving her a show on Hulu and shit that literally no one watches. Like, no one watches her fucking show. So she making fun of Ron DeSantis, who's a clown, for looking for attention, but that's literally all you do. Why are you even here, Hillary? What do you do other than be on Hulu and do irrelevant shows that 5 people watch? Right? Well, anyway, let's continue.
What's the name of? I think she does the show with her daughter. I forget the name of it.
Literally, no one watches.
She does a show.
Zero people watching it.
You have a show?
Pretty sure.
Yeah,
exactly.
A lot of people don't even know she has a show. That's how bad that show does.
Beats the hell out of me.
Yeah. All right. So back to it. We'll play a couple minutes more, and then we'll get off here.
Who he stepped in and removed them. Georgia Republicans have given themselves the power to remove elected prosecutors as well, just ahead of Fani Willis making this decision. That law will go into effect about 7 or 8 weeks from now, which will give them that opportunity. It does feel like the idea of law enforcement being used as a tool of partisan politics is something that, with whatever justification, the Republican Party is really embracing and ready to run with or without Trump. That feels...
It's so crazy. That feels like a total projection.
Oh my God.
On the heels, you are talking about an indictment of the opposite party as you talk about them weaponizing law enforcement. And I must say, as a black male and as a black person, I should say, it's very rich to hear white people talking about the weaponization of the law enforcement now, like something black people been saying for fucking literally several hundred years. Oh, the weaponization, we need to defund, and we're sitting in the back like, what? Like with the Kermit grin. You know what I'm saying? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? We've been saying this exact thing. So it is a little, shocking. I don't know the right word to use to see them talking about this shit.
Yeah, as if Trump is the first victim of the system. It's so fucking stupid. You're 100% right, but we can continue.
Yeah,
well, the African People's Socialist
go
Party
ahead,
would like
JB.
The African People's Socialist Party would like a word, first of all. And then, using the political process against your political opponents. You know who else would like a word? Matthew Ho of the Green Party. He would like a word too, because the Democratic Party literally tried to block him from even being able to run in the 2022 Senate race. So guess what? Y'all do the same. Oh my God, they do the same things too. This is why it is so hilarious that they'll be pushing for this indictment. And let's be real. I'm gonna be honest with you. I want to see them all in orange jumpsuits. I do. The thing is that, number one, I am of the opinion it's not going to happen Because they're all co-workers. And if you have to do it against one, you got to do it against all. And the American people are actually going to see the bullshit if you have to do it against one. And guess what? They're not going to allow that to happen. Why? Because really, Donald Trump is just a buddy of Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
She's just playing a role. And that's what people need to realize. And I'm so glad that we're able to talk about this and then just reveal it for what it really is, because I'm sick and tired of people cheering for Team Red or Team Blue when really you need to be about Team Poor and Team Worker.
Right.
Right.
I don't think we need to play more. You can, if we got more receipts though, we can go to those. Nick, if you got some.
Yeah, no, we still got plenty to cover. So
Yeah,
this is Hillary saying you can have the election stolen from you. Hillary Clinton warns 2020 Democrats. So that's why that segment is hilarious, because they got two of the most unhinged Democratic Party conspiracy theorists to head the Trump indictment story, right? So the next clip we're going to show you is Alan Dershowitz breaking down why this is so stupid for the ruling class to do. And he's not saying it on our behalf. So don't be the moron and say, oh, RBN is sticking up to Alan Dershowitz. No, we understand the framing that he is saying, but what he's saying is 100% true. Now, let me get to a few super chats so we don't fall too behind. And before I get to that clip, thank you for the $5. Vinny, why do leftists not talk about systematism? I don't know what that is, even though it's a leftist intellectual body of work that expands on socialism with focus on system building.
It's like community building versus being like by yourself, living in the community. It's similar to that.
Yeah, that word is obviously not in my vocabulary, as you guys can see.
Yeah,
that's my first time.
Thank you for the 4. It probably we probably talk about it, but we just don't use the word.
Yeah, I'm still growing.
499 Will, love the channel, guys. Appreciate the love and solidarity. Thank you for the $5, Eric. Trump derangement syndrome pouring 24/7 on MSNBC. Yeah, there's only a tragedy going on in Hawaii right now, and since I know you probably knows this as well, MSNBC is unbearable right now. It's literally nothing but Trump shit. Nothing but Trump shit. On top of the hour, through the hour, on the next hour, we got a Trump update. Like it's so
they're not even talking about Ukraine. I watched
Ukraine.
The entire Morning Joe. I'm sure you did, trying to see if I had anything for this segment or this show, and all Trump, every single aspect, every minute was Trump. They're not even talking Ukraine no more. What did they have to talk about with a failing counteroffensive though? So it kind of works out, I guess.
And isn't that a tell that things are going extremely bad for the Democratic Party and Biden? Because if things was going great, they'd be talking about other shit that's going on. But they're not talking about the status of the working class, because there's a video, I don't think we had time to get to the stream. I'll show you maybe sometime later this week, of all these workers talking about how they can't afford to live. But they can't do stories about that, so they got to do this nonstop Trump indictment nonsense. Every single damn video, that's what it is. But anyway, appreciate the super chat. Eric, this is another super chat from Eric. From Social. Thank you for $2. Don't care, but won't stop. The next Timothy McVeigh. Yes, thank you for the super chat. We have another one from Eric. I don't know why I've been slow recently for me. Thank you for the $5, Eric. Matt Cow and Hillary double fantasies of Trump in prison, getting some Trump derangement syndrome. Thank you, Eric. Another one. Thank you for $5. Maddow Hillary clip. I thought we was watching Mattel's Barbie Land, where the weird Barbies are taking over. P.S. Cal is a junkless Ken doll.
Oh my god.
These people are savages.
Thank you for $4.99, Marcos. Quick public apology for blowing y'all up via email. I'm passionate and just trying to get involved. I'll be patient. Appreciate y'all. Peace. I had to check on that. Thank you for the super chat, Marcos. Thank you for the $5, Eric. My family thinks Trump is a moron and criminal mastermind. Frustrating how they cheer on RICO charges. Contradictions don't exist in their mind. Yeah, the Trump derangement syndrome people are. It's literally a mental. I wouldn't say disease. I think that's harsh, but it's a block that prevents them from critical
Condition.
thinking. You guys know how it's a mental condition. You guys know how if you get sick, there's a side effect, right? If you get nausea, it affects your brain in a certain way. You may not be thinking clearly when you food sick. You know what I mean? That's what Trump derangement syndrome does to the mind. Like, it literally blocks critical thinking mechanisms from occurring. Like, there's certain thought patterns they're physically unable to make until they reconcile their Trump derangement syndrome. That's why Trump derangement syndrome took people we thought was otherwise smart. We don't have the same name, but think about how many people that you have respect for, and then Trump derangement syndrome happened, and you're like, man, that dude fell the fuck off. I mean, Tom Hartman was someone that CJ mentioned before, as someone like that as well. But anyway, thanks for the 999, Janice, Clinton, and Maddow. This is the last one we will read for now. Clinton and Maddow, I'm going to do a smudging to eliminate the negative vibes. Thanks for stopping to critique so frequently. I can only take them in short bursts. I think we only can too.
Me too, Janice. Me too.
We had to throw some sandy in there. Like, there are people that watch this shit and they think they're getting real news. Man, we really informed in this country. Thank God we don't got propaganda. We got Rachel Maddow. Like, that's why I say we're the most propagandized country.
Yeah.
Because people in China know they're against state media. So they can get their news informed, and they're informed of the bias of what the source is coming from. They know they're getting news from the state. They're not falling for that shit because they know it's news from the state. But meanwhile, in the United States, you're watching Rachel Maddow, then you're getting true fucking news. Then you learning shit. That's why studies show, and JB, I'll pass it to you, but that's why studies show that people who don't watch the news, people who don't watch CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, and all those, they're literally more informed and more politically intelligent than people who do, because watching that shit literally makes you more fucking stupid. But go ahead, JB.
Hey, let me ask you this. For you and CJ, what would you say if somebody had Trump derangement syndrome and Biden derangement syndrome? Would that cancel each other out, or would that be more of an acceptable, more reasonable position for have derangement syndrome against them both?
I think that's more reasonable. That's probably more reasonable because if you hate both red and blue and you think you're deranged because they're terrible, I guess that would be a better position. I guess
I will just push back on the framing, because I would say that the derangement is an improper framing of the mind. So Trump derangement, the derangement comes from believing that one team is better than another. Right? If you acknowledge that both Trump and Biden is bad, there's no derangement going on because you're properly assessing the situation. The Trump derangement syndrome comes from the fact that you believe that Donald Trump is somehow worse than Joe Biden. Like, that's how your mind becomes deranged. So that's why it's a good point that you bring up. But that person wouldn't be, because that's essentially our position, right? Our position that Biden and Trump is irredeemable. Our position on the Republican Party, our position on the Democratic Party, our critiques of the Democratic Party is that they're like Republicans. You know what I mean? So there's no love to be found with the Republican Party, and no love to be found between me and my governor, Mike Pearson, who's a psychopath. There's no love to be found between me and Josh Hawley, who's a fraudulent person. But that's why we call out the Democratic Party, because you have Trump derangement syndrome if you believe that Claire McCaskill from my same state is somehow worse than Josh Hawley. You know, this person who criticized Josh Hawley because he'd be too inexperienced to build the wall? Claire McCaskill criticized Josh Hawley from his right, fam. There was advertisements on our TV that was saying, if you want the wall to be built, you don't support Josh Hawley. He's too inexperienced. I will actually get that done. But Claire McCaskill's the better one. That's my take on the situation. But anyway, any last thoughts on that? But I want to move on. We got a few things.
I just want to thank you guys for your answers.
No, they be always with the thought-provoking stuff. So
you gonna play the Dershowitz the video?
Oh, yeah. So this is the analysis, and there have been quite a few legal scholars that make this. That's why, even though this person is literally subhuman garbage, this guy is subhuman garbage that should be fucking Actually, I gotta be careful. I'm on YouTube. I gotta be careful. Subhuman fucking garbage piece of shit, Alan Dershowitz here. But he's saying something that, and the reason why I can play him is because he hates Trump. And he always been one of the people that had him ridiculous criticisms where, oh yeah, the George W. Bush Republican Party was great. The Reagan Republican Party was great. Then Trump ruined it. This is a fucking horrible subhuman piece of garbage. Anyway, I can't explain how much horrible this guy is. But anyway, he makes a great point, though. That's why I have to qualify it with as many insults as fucking possible, because he makes a great point. So I'm going to play it, and I want you guys to judge me for it, see if I'm right for playing it or not.
Well, first of all, nobody should take at all seriously the fact that there was a grand jury indictment. It means nothing. It's the prosecutor who indicted. The best evidence of that is that it was on his website before the grand jury even voted. Now, the whole strategy of all these four cases is to get a conviction before the election, even if they're going to lose on appeal. I used to teach my students, many of them future prosecutors.
You see what you just said? Their job is to get to prosecution, even if they lose on appeal. And then most people would not do that, CJ. Why would they do it other than them being political? Other than timing for the election. So I'll just play that part again. I'll let it play a little bit more, because that's a point we was making earlier.
Before the grand jury even voted. Now, the whole strategy of all these...
I might have to reload it. I just started. Yeah. I'll play it without interrupting. I'll just play.
No, but that is a great point. That a lot of like what they're doing, it seems like they know, like a lawyer knows some of the things you can do that is easily just going to make the case go to appeal. And it sounds like he's saying there's so many things that they're doing that this is going to be easily appealed. So then it begs the question to you, your point. Then why are you doing it unless it's to affect the election? That's it.
Listen to the point that he makes, because I think he chimes in on it. I'll cut it off a little soon, but let's continue.
Nobody should take at all seriously the fact that there was a grand jury indictment. It means nothing. It's the prosecutor who indicted. The best evidence of that is that it was on his website before the grand jury even voted. Now, the whole strategy of all these four cases is to get a conviction before the election, even if they're going to lose on appeal. I used to teach my students, many of them future prosecutors, if you bring a RICO case, that increases your chances of winning a trial and losing on appeal. The same thing is true with conspiracy and other cases.
You guys see why they want to win the trial for the headlines? They don't care they lose the appeal. Anyway, let's continue.
Involving
keep it paused there, because that is a great point that I was going to bring up, because I have queued up is the charges. And when we showed those charges on the screen, I was going to show there's no way that this RICO charge is going to stand up on appeal. They're using this RICO charge with the ability to do all this stuff by using the RICO charge. It clearly should not be used in this case against Joe Biden. Simply telling somebody, hey, see if you can find, that doesn't make this a RICO charge, man. This is such a flimsy case for the charges that they have against him. Not that he's like innocent of everything, but the charge is way overcharged, and this RICO charge is way over.
That's why neocon Democrat propagandists like Alan Dershowitz, even he, because he know law, is like, you guys are kind of fucking up here. Like, because you got to be honest, if you want to maintain some credibility in some sort of avenue, some lane that he's staying in, right? But anyway, I let it continue, because his once again, he's subhuman garbage, but he knows law, and he's explaining this in a very good way.
If you bring a RICO case, that increases your chances of winning a trial and losing on appeal. The same thing is true with conspiracy and other cases involving mental states. And so all four of these cases are designed to get quick convictions in jurisdictions that are heavily loaded against Donald Trump. And these prosecutors don't care as much as prosecutors generally do about having the convictions reversed on appeal, because that will happen after the...
You guys see what he's describing here? Alan Dershowitz hates Trump, but he knows law. He understands the situation. CJ, JB, you don't think there's not a lot of... You don't think there's lawyers and people who generally follow law who don't know this? who don't understand this stuff, and then it may be Democrat partisan and they're forced to go along because they can't call out this obvious nonsense that anyone can point out. Hey, and he bring up how the deck is stacked against Trump in Georgia, the shady mechanisms they are using to get the prosecution. Everyone sees this, and everyone in the ruling class who got fancy professional managerial class degrees, who pretending they can't see it, but are being we're a bunch of college dropouts and shit. We can see this, but they want Morning Joe Scarborough on their channel want us to believe that they can't see this.
A perfect example of this is that, and I saw this, maybe it was on Garland Nixon too. Why is a county prosecutor charging a sitting president, or I'm sorry, a former president? Why isn't the Georgia State Attorney General running this case? This doesn't make any sense. A county prosecutor? This is a county. This is like LA County is one county. You get what I'm saying? Like, just think of the county. You're in a county. There's multiple counties surrounding you. You're just gonna zero in on a county. Like, a county prosecutor doesn't even prosecute state cases. They prosecute things that happen just in this. But I was also hearing the case actually may be moved. That Trump is likely to request the case be moved to Washington D.C. with the motion being, these crimes that I'm alleged of happened when I was a resident of 1600 Pennsylvania, Washington D.C. So they're going to try to move this out, but go ahead with the video, Nick.
Because it's I'm not going to play the whole Fox News clip. I'm just going to play Alan Dershowitz breakdown, and then some Fox and the Fox head come on and say, "Oh, you're so amazing," essentially. So his breakdown.
If you bring a RICO case, that increases your chances of winning a trial and losing.
Come on, it should skip.
Yeah, but this video not long. It's only his part is only about 2 minutes. I'm not gonna play the whole clip. I just want to play Alan Dershowitz breakdown.
Teach my students, many of them future prosecutors, if you bring a RICO case,
come on,
that increases your chances of winning a trial and losing on appeal. The same thing is true with conspiracy and other cases involving mental states. And so all four of these cases are designed to get quick convictions in jurisdictions that are heavily loaded against Donald Trump. And these prosecutors don't care as much as prosecutors generally do about having the convictions reversed on appeal, because that will happen after the election, which only goes to prove what I've been arguing now for months. If you're going after the man who's running against your incumbent president, you would darn well better have the strongest case possible.
Yes.
And these are among the four, at least three of them, three weakest cases I've ever seen against any candidate. We don't know about the fourth, but it seems like it's very much like the DC case. And if you're going after the man running for president against your person, you have to have the strongest case. Otherwise, it becomes a banana republic. Anybody can prosecute anybody. And we're opening the door to prosecution of Democrats by Republicans, Republicans by Democrats. It's what Alexander Hamilton wrote in The Federalist is the most dangerous threat to democracy. And we're seeing it unfold in front of our eyes.
I think that's all we got to hear. You guys see what he says here? You see how he's not saying it on our behalf? He's saying it for the ruling class. He's like, guys, wake up. If you guys go out and do this dumbass prosecution, wait, the Republicans going to do the same thing to you. They're going to do the same thing to me. They're going to do the same thing to the person interviewing me. We all fucking criminals, right? So he's making a great point coming from his interest. But we can apply it because we see how Democrats are weaponizing the government, and they're doing it in such a lame way. And it's also the point we made earlier. Alan Dershowitz is smart enough to realize, he said, God, we can't go after Trump after this weak shit, or we'd be hypocrites, because that's the same thing we charge Venezuela and them for. That's what we charge other countries for doing, right? He said, we go after these people for weak stuff and make it seem like we're a banana Republican, make it look bad. So Alan Dershowitz, a liberal Democrat, a standard neocon, is smart enough to realize that the Democrat liberal strategy is making them look like open, dumbass hypocrites. The prosecution and the people who have Trump derangement syndrome are so ridiculous. Even people like Alan Dershowitz and liberal people who know the law are backing away because they're like, yo, I don't fuck with Trump. I'm all down for Trump derangement syndrome, but this shit is dumb. I can't go down with this stupid shit. like the same way a lot of smart leftists like us and many others was like, we don't like Trump, but as soon as you guys start Russiagate, like, I don't fuck with that shit. Even though I don't like Trump, I ain't gonna go down like that. That's essentially what Alan Dershowitz is doing with this case. I'm all down for him Trump. I ain't going down like this. This is horrible look for us. But
and I think any of these lawyers who are a part of these cases, they know these cases are going to be easily overturned on appeal, and that's not the point, though. The point is to get him out of contention for the election. Oh, let me bring up this here just so we can see some of the charges here. Good old boy over at the Rational National has it on the screen on one of his videos here, and I'm going to read. It says the latest Trump indictment is out, and it's a blockbuster. Let's start with the number, shall we? A jury in Fulton County, Georgia, returned an indictment that has 19 defendants, including the former president of the United States and 6 lawyers in his orbit, including Rudy Giuliani, 41 criminal counts across all defendants. So that's not 41 just for Donald Trump. It's all defendants, 41. 13 criminal counts against the former president himself. So he has 13. 8 types of manners and methods used to further a criminal enterprise, and 161 overt acts of racketeering activity. Now, there's another slide here he's going to get to. Let me let it play just a couple seconds so he gets to the next slide here.
Racketeering activity. So they have used, as you're going to see here.
Right here. Trump charges. 1, violation of Georgia's RICO Act, solicitation of violation of oath of public office, conspiracy to commit impersonating a public officer, conspiracy to commit forgery in the first degree, conspiracy to commit false statements and writings, conspiracy to commit filing false documents, conspiracy to commit forgery in the first degree. So and it goes on. We can't see the rest of the charges in this frame, but it goes on with, along the same sort of lines with the type of charges for the former President Donald Trump, and it's 13 charges. Do we have any other receipts, Nick or JB?
Now we can move on. 'Cause I got one last story that I got to cover. I don't know if you have anything else you have, CJ, but I got one more.
Not much, yeah. Not much.
It's not a long story. I just want to do more updates on Maui, Hawaii. I found a few clips. Remember a few clips I was trying to find yesterday? I was mad I couldn't find them. I went back and I found a few, so I'm going to show you guys some receipts on that. But one thing that is becoming apparent is that disaster capitalism is striking yet again. And now I'll show you guys a story where many Maui residents and many Hawaiians are fearful that the tragedy will lead to an abundance of outsiders that will replace the indigenous Hawaiians. So am I being a crazy conspiracy theorist when I say this? I don't know. Let's listen to this fucking smart guy. Let's listen to this quick video. And I will move on for this. I want to go through this segment pretty fast.
Not long ago, Hawaiian government officials in the areas that were just affected by the wildfires passed a law saying that land could not be redistricted for new building permits unless some type of a serious natural disaster occurred. Serious natural disaster occurred. And what did we have happen through those 3 districts of very sacred land to the Hawaiians? A very serious natural disaster. I'm not going to get into space lasers and all of that shit, but people called their insurance companies after the fire, and the insurance companies, for the first time, informed them that there was zoning infractions on their land, so they would not honor their insurance policies. And within 24 hours of these people losing their homes, the same developers who the Hawaiian elders fought in court to have that law passed are already calling these people and making them offers for their homes. This is what happens when the government sticks their fingers in everything. The government's in the insurance industry. They're talking to people who are paying for their campaigns, which are the buyers of this land. And they say to these people, hey, let us know when they call you to get their insurance claims, and let us know when you deny them so we can then give them a call right away and scoop in and swoop in and be the heroes. So they're going to get this land that they're going to develop into millions of dollars worth of property, and the Hawaiian elders are going to get fuck all. They're going to get screwed over. And this happens everywhere. There's too many coincidences for this not to be shady. Wake up.
You're muted, Nick.
So there are people probably thinking right now, Nick, do you really believe the government would set fire and kill hundreds of people in order to claim?
Yeah. What? Yeah. Yeah. What?
Yes. But also, you gotta remember the mindset of capitalists. Never let a tragedy go to waste. Never allow a tragedy to go to waste. So whether they did it or not, which I think CJ's pretty clear on where we lay on, is 100% irrelevant. No matter what happened, they were going to come in when a disaster happened. This is what disaster capitalists do, and they're going to exploit the situation as they know it. How can we get ahead of this disaster? How can we take the disaster and seize more land? In fact, they're already working on it. We already see what the Hillary Clinton Foundation did to Haiti. We already saw what the Red Cross did to Haiti. So guess who came out of retirement? Guess who finally had something to do? Barack Obama. And I got this question to ask you guys. What the hell has Barack Obama done as an ex-president thus far? What social initiatives have he taken up other than being a Netflix star? And this is this article that I didn't read through that make a few great points here. Barack Obama has been one of the worst ex-presidents ever. Like, what the fuck has he done? Jimmy Carter built houses and shit, right? George W. Bush does like this aid research in Africa. They always do shit to at least make up for their fucking war crimes. Meanwhile, Barack Obama, like, nigga, I'm going to Hollywood. I ain't doing no social activism. Millions of black people going homeless, don't give a shit. Workers striking, don't give a shit. What the hell has Barack Obama been doing? So this motherfucker comes out his mansions, comes out of retirement, and what does he come out of retirement for? To push the Red Cross. Alarm bells should be ringing from everyone everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Because now this is where disaster capitalism is about to strike. This is where these people here to grift and steal money because the Red Cross is complicit. I'm gonna show you guys some more receipts after I play the video with massive money laundering. They lost hundreds of millions of dollars that went into administrative costs and salaries. What does that mean? Fucking, they just literally grifting and stealing money from charities and foundations. And this is what Barack Obama is promoting, the Red Cross right now. Do not donate to the Red Cross. I'll just play a few seconds of this because what he said is not actually that important. I'll just play a few seconds.
Aloha, everybody. Like so many people around the world, Michelle and I have been absolutely heartbroken by the devastating images coming out of Maui and Lahaina over the last week. You know, as someone who grew up in Hawaii, as someone who has taken my family to enjoy the incredible beauty of that island and the hospitality of the people of Lahaina, we now find ourselves mourning the lives that are lost, and our thoughts and prayers go out to the families that have lost so much. The thing about it is, though, thoughts and prayers in a moment like this are not enough. We have to step up, and we have to help those families, and we have to help Lahaina rebuild. And the good news is that the Hawaii Red Cross and Malama Maui are mobilized.
Don't trust this Negro. He's here to help the Red Cross grift. Now, if you guys don't know, now you know. Now I'm gonna show you guys the example of what Red Cross has done. They took a ton of money in donation. I'll share this one. I'll share Mac's tweet first. The Red Cross raised $500 million for the Haiti earthquake relief in 2010, and they spent 25% on internal administration costs. But we're the grifters. These motherfuckers took millions of dollars and spent a quarter of it on salary. Can you imagine what would happen if we did something like that? Or any person anywhere? No, and after taking half a billion dollars, they built only 6 houses for Haitians. 6. And to this day, 6. And at the time, and to expound on this tweet, they lied and they went on propaganda campaigns in the media. The corporate media helped them as well. People like Barack Obama helped them as well. For example, here, the Red Cross says it provided homes to more than 130,000 people. And they went on this long propaganda campaign. And guess who helped them? The media. The American media will repeat this shit completely uncritically for a very long time. But despite them saying they built 130,000 homes, they actually built 6. And I'm going to read this paragraph here. Aid organizations from around the world have struggled after the earthquake in Haiti, the Western Hemisphere's poorest country. But ProPublica and NPR's investigation show that many of the Red Cross failings in Haiti are of its own making. They are also part of a larger pattern in which the organization has botched delivery of aid after disasters such as Superstorm Sandy. So this is not the first time they did this. Every time the Red Cross come in, they grift and take millions of dollars and pay themselves, pay them houses, get themselves nice cars, get themselves nice suits, like in Superstorm Sandy. And they continue, despite its difficulties, the Red Cross remains the charity of choice for ordinary Americans and corporations alike. So they stole millions and millions and millions of dollars from people who want to donate to charity. But despite that, Barack Obama still props them up. Corporate media still props them up to this day. Imagine if you are a cashier and you have $50 missing in your cashier, what will happen to you? Imagine if you have $500 missing. Meanwhile, the Red Cross can account for hundreds of millions of dollars. Despite the fact that they can't account for hundreds of millions of dollars, they are still promoted by people like Barack Obama and the corporate media. You guys see how there's never any accountability for the ruling class? Between this and the Pentagon losing trillions of dollars, oops, oops, lost a few trillion bucks. Oops, can't pass an audit. You guys see how there are no consequences for the ruling class? So I'm gonna show you. This is what the Hillary Clinton, who we just showed with Rachel Maddow, how the Clinton Foundation was complicit with this as well. The Clinton Foundation stole millions from Haiti. Devastating. This is many article and reporting. Haiti and the failed promise of U.S. aid. And the Clinton Foundation played a very, very, very important part of that as well. So now they calling on Red Cross and the liberal gang is at it again. They want to do that to Hawaii. Now, I'm going to show a few clips I didn't get to show yesterday. Once again, I trust the reporting of on-the-ground citizen journalists, people who live this life, instead of liberal propaganda for the Joe Biden administration. A lot of them were very upset with me, fam, yesterday when I had a viral video calling out Biden, and there were so many people making excuses for him. And I've seen this war where liberals making excuses for Joe Biden. But they said, well, Biden's there. No, listen to what the people are saying. And this is the result of the colonialism that capitalism enables. And so let's listen to it.
Same waters that our people just died in 3 days ago are the same waters the very next day these visitors tourists were swimming in. And that says a lot about where their heart and mind is through all of this and where our heart and mind is. You don't see our people swimming, snorkeling, surfing. Nobody is having fun in tragedy and continuing their lives like nothing has happened. There is two Hawaiis right now. There's the Hawaii we're living in and the Hawaii they're living in, they're visiting in.
There are two Hawaiis right now. The Hawaii they're living in, Hawaii that the capitalist like Oprah is living in. You know, Oprah who had 2,000 acres. All those celebrities that just so happen to not have their land burned by this. Oh, just a coincidence, I'm sure. I have and I'm gonna show. Anyway, do you guys want to add on to this? I just got just 2-3 more receipts.
I think JB, you say you had a video to this.
Yeah, but before that, I just wanted to say, remember when Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. gave the speech about the Tale of Two Americas?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's the exact same thing. There's two different Hawaiis, not the same.
Yeah, I'm gonna play this clip, and I have 2 more short receipts, and I'll pass it to JB for a video clip. But you guys heard from her, and the same way, because I'm not from Hawaii, I'm not a victim of U.S. imperialism and colonialism in Hawaii. So the same way that I'm not directly impacted by the Israeli regime, who do I listen to? I listen to the Palestinian Community Network. I listen to the Palestinians and activists the same way I expect my allies to listen to me when I talk about Black issues and our struggles. So I'm looking at the Hawaii situation. I'm like, all right, let me see what the indigenous Hawaiian people are saying. So you want to see what indigenous Hawaiian activists have been saying for years and why we have this position that we do and why we should be aware of these people. And beware, this person is about to hurt some of you motherfuckers' feelings. That's not our concern, though.
The Americans, my people, are our enemies, and you must understand that. They are our enemies. They took our land. They imprisoned our queen. They banned our language. They forcibly made us a colony of the United States. America always says they are democratic. Lies! That is a lie! They have never been democratic with Native people. They have never been democratic with Indians. They have never been democratic with Hawaiians.
They never been democratic to indigenous people. They've never been democratic for Native Americans. They've never been democratic to Black Americans as well. That's why we say, and I had the conversation with Pasta, that's why white people freak out about COVID, because COVID was the first time they ever felt oppression. Meanwhile, look at the lives of indigenous Hawaiians. Indigenous Hawaiians got 1,000 things to worry about. And this speech here, and the same reason why you had indigenous Hawaiians who call for independence, this is why the West hates the Chinese peace proposal. There it is. You guys see how everything connects? You guys see how everything connects? So what did the Chinese peace proposal say in Ukraine? The Chinese peace proposal says that all countries, no matter what size and power, no matter they're big or no matter they're small, they have to respect the territorial sovereignty of peoples. That's what the Chinese peace proposal says. So by doing that, you have ethnic Russians in the Donbass and in Odessa who do not want to be part of Ukraine. They're allowed to be an independent state or be part of Russia. That means that ethnic Russians in Crimea who do not want to be part of Ukraine gets to be part of Russia. That means indigenous Hawaiians are no longer victims of colonialism from the United States, fam. And the Taiwanese vice president, there's a story I don't got time for today, but I might cover at Nick and Night. Visit the United States is a big deal. China's very upset about that. But you guys know in this visit, this Taiwanese vice president separatist, I mean, this person is unhinged, a crazy person. But even they said they support the status quo of Taiwan being part of China. They have disagreements on what China allows, but they believe that they still support the status quo. So based on the Chinese peace proposal, the Taiwanese vice president still want to be part of China. Very inconvenient for the Western narrative. You have indigenous Hawaiians who will leave. You have ethnic Russians in Odessa that will leave. But anyway, I'll get on. But you guys see how I said it earlier. If you don't follow foreign affairs, you only unlock 10% of politics at best. Because now you realize why the West have problems with these kind of people. Now, 2 quick receipts I'll pass to JB, and not even videos. Actually, one is a quick 10-second video. The Biden administration is essentially blowing all this off. Listen to this.
Aside from the statement from the president, has President Biden spoken to any family members of wildfire victims or plans to in the future?
I don't have any calls to speak to at this time.
Fam, I have longer memory than the average American does, but I remember the reaction to Trump in Puerto Rico. So they asked Biden's press secretary, has Biden made any phone calls to the victims in Maui? Anybody? We can't confirm that. So not only was he caught saying no comment, he's not even giving condolence phone calls. And once again, these are the same stuff that they hang Trump on the wall for. This is what Trump the random syndrome blocks him from seeing. They will attack Trump for his decorum. He's not even reaching out to the victims of Puerto Rico. Do you guys remember that? I remember. I don't remember. I don't forget shit. There was a whole media cycle about it. About how Trump is not sending condolences. Meanwhile, Biden can't even comment about it. But he can't even call the family and people in Hawaii. Meanwhile, this motherfucker flying to Ukraine, inviting Zelensky to the White House.
I think it's on purpose. I think these tragedies, when they don't reach out, it does a couple of things not to engage. In this particular situation, what does him delaying his engagement with the people on the island do? It allows for the capitalists to call all the families to buy up all the property. You get what I'm saying? So like these delays have plans underneath. You get what I'm saying? Because it doesn't take a rocket science to go, wow, we just had a hurricane. People got mad because I didn't call right away. Here's something. Let me call right. You get what I'm saying? These people go to school. They got college degrees. They know exactly. So we have to ask, why are they intentionally doing that? And I'm telling you, in each instance, it has something to do, in my opinion, with disaster capitalism. Same thing with Katrina. They want that some of those areas got gentrified, where all those people got moved out, and they never repaired it, and they never fixed it back for those people to move back in. They just gentrified it.
Yeah.
It always has something to do with capitalism. Go ahead.
Joe Biden is the moral superior to nobody. Like, people think that Joe Biden is the moral superior to Donald Trump. White House blows off criticism of Biden on Maui wildfire. What is the criticism that everyone been making? We show you guys the on the ground report, and JB, I saw you covered it as well, where people on the ground is criticizing the government for having a slow response. Mm-hmm. They're like, shut the fuck up, man. You guys always bitching. That's essentially what they say. They rush hundreds of millions of dollars, so hundreds of billions, to Ukraine. I think I saw a number. It was around $215 billion was sent to Ukraine. Meanwhile, he said $700. Shut the fuck up. No need to read the article, but JB, I'll pass to you for a live video, and then we can wrap.
Yeah. So one of the things that was brought out to me was that Lahaina is actually the original capital city of the Kingdom of Hawaii before the United States took it over, took it away from the native Hawaiians and made Honolulu the capital. So that's one thing. There was this video that I saw that was on TikTok, and they are basically saying, they say, do not sign anything from FEMA besides Hawaii is still under occupation, no jurisdiction. Let's hear what they have to say.
How's it, TikTok peeps? All right. The reason why we were saying do not sign anything from FEMA, okay, is because of this, right? Can the government take private property during an emergency? Under the Stafford Act, the FEMA is authorized to use eminent domain to take both real and personal property on an emergency basis. All right? Read the rest of this. You don't believe me? Whatever. That's up to you. But if you own land in Lahaina...
So I'll read it. It says, under the Stafford Act, the Federal Emergency Management Agency is authorized to use eminent domain to take both real and personal property on an emergency basis. The federal law gives FEMA extensive powers which can affect our citizens, but should not render the protections we are all afforded under our federal and state constitutions, such as the guarantee of just compensation for any taking which is undertaken for a public purpose. As the United States Supreme Court has made clear, the Fifth Amendment guarantees the private property shall not be taken for a public use without a just compensation, was designed to bar government from forcing some people alone to bear public burdens, which, in all fairness and justice, should be borne by the public as a whole. That's from Armstrong versus the United States, 364 U.S. 4049.
That's some crazy ass shit, man.
So,
do not sign anything for FEMA. That is why they're holding back all of the donations and saying, hey, you want food? Come sign this. BS. They don't want anybody left in Lahaina. So they're trying to starve you guys out. All right? You get it? If there is nobody in Lahaina left, who's going to stop them? Who's going to stop them from calling eminent domain?
You guys see how all the people on the ground is calling this out? Meanwhile, there's a completely different narrative coming from not only just Democrats but progressives who pretend that Biden and the government is having this amazing response. No, they were trying to replace them. They're trying to take over their land and their community. It's as disgusting as it gets in government. But JB, CJ, any last thoughts? And we can read. I'll read a few more super chats that's all come in, and we bounce out.
Actually, let me. I did want to play the video or read the tweet from Max and Aaron about the Zelensky meeting the Nazis. So let me do that before you.
Do you mind if I read the super chat real quick? Because I actually got dip out.
Yeah. Go ahead. Because it's not really a segment. It's just bringing it up. It's not really a segment. But go ahead with the super chats.
Yeah. Let me read these just real quick. Thank you for $2, Kenneth. AOC, send them sunscreen. Thank you for $2. Yeah, that's definitely that's AOC's priority. That's what we know. There's no one from Eric. Even my ex-Republican, now lib Democrat parents, because Bush and now Trump know that the Red Cross is a grift and horrible. Absolutely. Thank you for that. Thank you for $4. 499 Priscilla. Guys, love your shows. I hate to break it to you, but 90% of Trump supporters hate both the GOP and DNC. If Trump is not on a ticket, they won't vote. And I'm sorry to break it to you, Priscilla, but I don't believe it. Yeah, this is the post-duopoly, fam. Like, Trump supporters are Republicans. Trump is the GOP. When Trump was president, he did the will of the GOP. He did the wills of the donors. He did the will of Mitch McConnell. Was there this massive struggle between Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump? No, there was not. There was no struggle. But he did everything that Mitch McConnell wanted him to do. So Trump supporters, I'm sorry, keep making this fantasy where he's fighting the establishment secretly. No, he is not, fam. Corporations in Wall Street make record profits under him. The military-industrial complex grew under him. The prison-industrial complex grew under him. He tried to overthrow Venezuela. He literally escalated the Iran sanction regime and trying to escalate tensions with Iran. He wanted to go to war with China. I'm not one of these people that going to indulge you guys on this comic book fantasy that you guys have Trump and his supporters. A lot of these people are just suburban white guys who feel like they've been edgy for the first time in their life. But if Trump wasn't there, they're gonna support. They will support Ron DeSantis. If Ron DeSantis was there, they support the Republican Party. They may not be happy about it. Like, they may not be like MAGA. They may not have that shit all over the profile. They may not have that shit all over the trunk or all over the trunk or whatever. But wait till the election hit, and then they be like, "Man, I really can't let these trans people win. The fucking LGBT community is pissing me off. I gotta vote against the Democrat." I promise you, it'll be some culture warrior shit. If Trump was on the ballot, they will pull the trigger on the Republican because they're so invested in the culture war. I promise you. Anyway, that's my
Republican down ballot anyway, though.
I don't have faith in duopolists. I'm sorry. I appreciate the super chat, and I really do appreciate your perspective. I really do appreciate your perspective. I just disagree that I don't think Trump supporters have revolutionary potential. I just don't think it's there. Thanks for the $5. Automatic selector. I just don't take people seriously who just fucking tweet about culture war shit all day. And that's what Trump supporters are. I'm around Twitter. I see everything. I see everything that happens. I know what Trump supporters are talking about. They're not talking about revolutionary shit. They mad about the queer person down the street existing. You know what I mean? They don't give a fuck about anything. Anyway, thank you for the $5. Trump already said there was a town hall where Trump said we're gonna have peace in Ukraine, or I'm gonna give Ukraine way more than Biden did. He has like a slip up. But I promise you guys, Trump is he's not gonna do what he said on Ukraine. I promise you he won't. But anyway, let's continue. I think for the $5, automatic selector, $5. Trump derangement syndrome is kind of like OCD, I think. And you guys see how I view about Trump. I obviously have no respect for the motherfucker. I have no belief that he's gonna benefit the workers. But you guys see my position is not Trump derangement syndrome though, because the derangement comes from thinking that Trump is somehow uniquely different from the ruling class. Now, it's my belief that Trump is not different from the ruling class. Is why I laugh at the suggestion that Trump is some sort of outsider. Then you know he hired Mike Pompeo, Stephen Mnuchin. He hired
what's his name? John Bolton or whatever his name.
Trump hired Betsy DeVos. This motherfucker is a class warrior for the ruling class, and people think he's some sort of outside fighter. It's literally just laughable to me. Like I literally kind of laugh at it. I think there was another super chat came in. Let me do one last check. Here's Rome. Big shout out to Rome. I'm gonna launch my. Make sure you guys check out Rome Library. I'm gonna launch my fundraiser soon. But anyway, big shout out to Rome. I thought I saw one more super chat. I might be mistaken, but I think that's it. Oh, here it is.
Okay.
I know I saw one. Yeah. Thanks for $2. Tokar. Search on Odessa about Maui. Is that? I think that's the social media side thing. Talking about the video website. So he said search that about Maui. I bet probably a lot of good on the ground reporting. But with that, I think we are done for today.
Yeah,
JB,
with some announcements. Let me do a.
Oh yes. Sorry. I know you had the story.
Yeah, a couple of texts. Yeah, they're tweets, but it's they're more of a like an announcement.
Yeah, I see you guys for Nick at night tomorrow. Right. Sorry, I got to dip out there. I'll see you guys.
Okay. This is. I just want to give an update on the Max debate because he posted something right here. So this is Max Blumenthal. The debate. I should have been more clear. But the debate that everybody knows about, RFK and him, Max posted this here, I guess at the state fair, or they have like an Iowa state fair, JB, and I guess at the state fair, where is it at now? Oh, here it goes. RFK mentioned something about that he's going to be debating Max soon, and here is the tweet. It says, at the Iowa State Fair, RFK told reporters he's debating me on Israel-Palestine in a few weeks. I've heard nothing from him or his team about these plans, and his comms director previously told me it's not happening. Hopefully, they will clarify. So I don't know if it's just him trying to pretend in a public setting, like I'm not afraid, I'm going to debate him, when behind the scenes the details are opposite. I don't know if that's the case. Let me see if he actually says it here.
Yeah, I've never made an anti-Semitic comment in my life. In fact, I'm also being, by the far left, I'm also, and by the mainstream media, I'm also at the same time being accused of being a Zionist. So, in fact, I'm debating Matt Blumenthal in a couple of weeks because he's complaining that I'm a Zionist. So it's pretty hard to justify. It's pretty hard to reconcile somebody being an anti-Semite and a Zionist. I've never made any anti-Semitic. I've never made any anti-Semitic, even a phrase in my entire life.
So you notice he's really offended by the anti-Semitic name, but he's not offended by the Zionist name in that clip. So it sounds like he did make the omission, JB. So we'll see, what actually happens, but he does make the omission of it at least. Before we play the final video, I had a question. Did you have an update on your the launch of your chapter in Orlando? Because you and Nick have, I think your events are the ones that's coming up next. But so did you have any updates or about your upcoming chapter
Yeah,
launch anywhere?
so my chapter is actually going to be this Saturday. We're going to be doing a meet and greet. So it's going to be at 3 p.m. at the Drunken Monkey coffee house here in Orlando. So we're going to be doing
Is that a real
that.
name? Is that a real
Yeah, it's
name?
called the Drunken Monkey.
Okay. Okay.
I
Okay.
know. I know. So I forgot to pull up the graphic that Aaron made, but yeah. So it's going to be there. So we're going to be talking about the things that we would like to start within the community, coming together mostly for just a consensus about exactly what we would like to do. For the most part, what we're going to be doing is not just, not just material things like toiletries, water, food, things like that, but we're also going to be trying to conduct classes and things like that in order to teach the people, different things that they need in order to do better within the community, and also how to help other members of the community as well, so that they can actually do better, so that we can build class consciousness and solidarity among with our neighbors. So we'll be doing that this Saturday. So that's what I'll be having going on, and I'm pretty excited about it because there's a lot that needs to be done within the community, especially here in Orlando. There's a lot that needs to be done in regards to Central Florida, because look, we live under Ron DeSantis, and there's a lot that's going on here. Ron DeSantis is anti-free
Ain't no
speech.
joke. Yeah.
He is anti-democratic. We just, Monique Worrell, who is one of the county prosecutors, he just suspended her because she actually did what she said that she was going to do as a politician. In fact, I found the graphic here so you guys can see. So here it is. It is RBN Orlando chapter meet and greet at the Drunken Monkey coffee shop. It's this Saturday, August 19th at 3 p.m. And here is the address: 444 North Bumby Avenue, 32803 in Orlando. So if you guys would like to, you guys can come out and you guys can meet me. And I will be streaming while I'm out there. So if you guys want to be on camera, then let me know. If you guys don't, then I won't put you on camera, but we will be having these conversations that are much needed for Orlando. And so thank you so very much, everybody, for coming out in advance.
Yeah, that's gonna be nice, and I think Nick is doing his later this month, maybe the following weekend or the last week of this month. So after Nick, that would leave Detroit as they're finishing up the library as the last chapter to launch, and then we got all of our chapters up and running. That's gonna be awesome. And then just maintaining them and keep it going, and that's gonna all depend on all of you who are watching, all the viewers, all the supporters. So it's great to see, sir. I don't see any new super chats, so we don't need to do that there. We can just play the closeout video unless you have anything else you want to shout out before we get out of here.
Yeah. So this week I will be doing the readings of the two books that I read on my channel. I'll be doing the readings for Laziness Does Not Exist by Dr. Devon Price. So I'll be continuing that as well. And then also I'll be continuing the reading of Assata Shakur's autobiography on my channel. So if you guys would like to, you guys can also go to my channel if you guys would like, and you guys can catch that. And of course, I did my live stream with Margaret Kimberly as well today. So if you guys want to catch that, and then I'll be doing subsequent clips after that as well, so you guys can see that too.
Absolutely. All right, JB. I'm going to play this clip. It's an oldie clip from.
Oh, just a question.
The Hill. Go ahead.
Did we get any tips on Rockfin?
Let's see here. Just closed it about 5-10 minutes ago. I'm almost sure it wasn't, but let's make sure. Because I closed it like 5 minutes ago. I didn't see anything there, but.
Oh, okay. Because I can always look.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
looking. Oh, me too. I'm looking too. Whoever gets there first is whoever. But yeah, I mean, this was like 10 minutes ago when I looked, maybe about 10 minutes ago. So it may not. I don't think anybody at the last minute would, but. And Rumble rants. I don't see any Rumble rants either. We gotta make sure I check for the Rumble rants.
Yeah, I could read a couple of chats from there since there wasn't really anything read from there, but. Just
yeah, so no tips on Rockfin. I just checked that one too finally, and nothing on Rumble. I mean, if you can read comments, but there's no Rumble rants on Rumble. So
yeah, of course. Let me see. So Jean, let me see. Jean Wentworth says she's the Goldwater girl at the time and is a little good little authoritarian. Thank you, Sharon Williams. Yeah, Jean Whitworth says she was a Goldwater staffer. I didn't realize that. Sharon Williams says disaster capitalism for the stakeholder capitalists, says that corporations should be the trustees of society. Obama, a stakeholder capitalist. So thank you so very much to everybody on Rockfin.
Cool. All right, everybody, we're going to leave you with this interesting clip, classic clip. Crystal Ball, Jimmy Dore, talking about strategy, left stuff. So it's interesting. Hope you enjoy. I think I'll be here tomorrow with the show. I have to put it together, but I think I'll be here tomorrow. So that's when you'll see me next. Other than that, have a good rest of your day. And here you go.
All right, Crystal, what's on your radar?
Well, last week, I interviewed Jimmy Dore about his idea for progressives to withhold their vote for Pelosi as Speaker unless she allows a floor vote on Medicare for all. Take a listen.
Progressives are always told that they don't know how to use power. They don't know how to grab power. Well, they don't have power, right? But the progressives who are elected in Congress right now, I mean, the real progressives, not the 100 people in the Progressive Caucus. I'm talking about the squad, Cori Bush, Jamal Bowman, Ro Khanna, people like that, Ayanna Pressley, people who are actually have progressive policies. Now they have leverage. What's their leverage, Jimmy? Well, Nancy Pelosi needs their vote for Speaker, right? Because the Democrats and Nancy Pelosi performed so poorly that they lost seats in the House under Donald Trump. So now the margin is really small, right? So just a handful of progressives could say, Nancy Pelosi, we're withholding our vote from you for Speaker unless you bring up Medicare for all for vote on the floor. That's our deal. Now it's up to Nancy Pelosi. Do you want to risk your speakership, or do you want to make sure we have a vote on a basic human right?
Now, I can understand quite easily why corporatists would oppose this idea. Of course, they despise all progressive priorities that remotely challenge corporate power. But I was surprised to see the arguments being made against the idea from some on the left, chief among them, AOC. Now, the entry of AOC into this conversation really started with a tweet from Chargers running back and left activist Justin Jackson. He wrote, "If AOC and the squad don't do what Jimmy Dore suggested and withhold their vote for Pelosi for speakership unless Medicare for all gets brought to the floor for a vote, they will be revealing themselves. Power concedes nothing without a demand." Pretty sound reasoning to me, but AOC did not agree. She responded, "Problem with this idea is that there isn't enough thought given to step 2. The Dem votes aren't there yet, and with a razor-thin margin, the Dem no's are greater than the margin. So you issue threats, hold your vote, and lose. Then what?" She continued, "In contrast, you can use leverage to push for things that can happen and change lives, i.e. a $15 minimum wage vote in the first 100 days, doable. Elevating longtime progressive champions to important positions of leadership, also doable. That's the opportunity cost to weigh." And in addition to this exchange with Justin, AOC also responded to a Matt Stoller tweet to indicate that actually progressives are demanding things in exchange for their speaker vote. They're just doing so quietly behind closed doors and not on Twitter for the world to see. So, in essence, she's arguing a few things here, and I've seen a lot of leftists on Twitter making similar cases, so let me take each of these points in turn. AOC's first point is that losing a vote on Medicare for All doesn't actually accomplish anything, and there is no plan for what comes next. I disagree, but more importantly, the AOC who fought hard for a vote on a Green New Deal resolution disagrees as well. Look, ultimately, this isn't all that complicated. 300,000 people have died from coronavirus this year. Plenty more are going to be burdened with massive medical bills, which will force them into bankruptcy. 15 million Americans have lost their employer-sponsored health insurance thanks to pandemic layoffs. Medicare for All has never been more necessary, and it's never been more popular. From a political perspective, progressives often get caricatured as focusing too much on niche concerns. This vote would be an effective way to demonstrate that actually progressives are literally the only group in Washington fighting right now for your right to have health care during a pandemic. An up or down vote would also have the benefit of getting everyone on the record so that we know who to primary and have a clear-cut vote to bludgeon them with in that primary. Sure, today, Medicare for All won't pass. But if you make it clear that opposition to Medicare for All spells political death for you, you'll start to see those dynamics change as cynical actors try to protect